Very excited that our newest board member has agreed to read the mission statement this evening before we do introductions and then officially swear him in as a board member.
Thank you. The mission of Intermediate District 287 is to be the premier provider of innovative, specialized services to ensure that each member district can meet the unique learning needs of its students.
Thank you. And will you start introductions? We just always start so that people know who's in the room with their name and the school district they represent.
And my name is Michael Remicall. You can call me Mike. I am representing School District 276, Minnetonka.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heidi Marty, and I'm representing West Tonka Public Schools.
Hi, Kim Ross, Eden Prairie Public Schools.
Hi, Sarah Johansson, Wayzata Public Schools.
Good evening, I'm Michael Birdman. I represent Edina Public Schools. And now that there is another Michael in the room and he goes by Mike, how great, because I do not. No one should be able to confuse us.
Hi, I'm Ruthie Dallas, representing Brooklyn Center Community Schools.
Ann Casey, proudly representing St. Louis Park.
I'm Crystal Brackey from Richfield Public Schools.
Shannon Andreessen, representing Hopkins Public Schools.
Michelle Kuntz, representing Orono Public Schools.
All right, and board member Jackie Mosqueda Jones from Orono is unable to be here this evening, and we might still, I'm sorry, it starts with the O and it just came out wrong. It says Osseo right here in front of me. Osseo is unable to be here tonight, and then we might still have Renee Bowman from Robbinsdale joining us as we progress through the evening. So as I said, we're going to move now to the oath of office where Michael Remicall from Minnetonka is going to officially be sworn in. It is your preference whether you choose to sit or stand as you take the oath that is printed on the orange sheet in front of you. Go ahead.
I, Michael Remicall, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully and justly perform and discharge all the duties of the office and trust which I now assume as a member of the Board of Intermediate School District 287, to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you and welcome. And welcome as well to Renee. We move next to approval of our general meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Shannon Andreessen and a second by Kim Ross. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Next, as always, we have audience opportunity to speak. I don't believe we had anybody request time with the board this evening. Thank you. So next is approval of the consent agenda containing routine business items that we approve as a slate. We could entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda unless a board member makes a motion to remove an item for individual consideration. Second. We have a motion by Michael Birdman and a second by Sarah Johansson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the consent agenda is approved. And we move next to our superintendent's report. So I will turn things over to Superintendent Deb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, I am happy to share with you that we had a visit from senators and as well as their support and their team. We had Senator Swedzinski, Senator Knoosh, Westland, and Bolden attend and their staff. And what they really were doing is going around to different school districts to talk about the last session and the impact it had. And so we had an opportunity to thank them for the enormous work they did in regards to our priorities as an intermediate school district. Some of those that were significant was that additional aid for special education setting 4, our mental health aid, as well as our ALC transportation and CTE. So it was a very successful session. And they came to visit North Education Center. And they got to hear from our students and the impact that maybe transportation has had on them, or the impact on their educational career, and how Intermediate District 287 needs the resources because this is the spot where they felt they could change their life. And tonight I have it was such a profound day of listening to students speak and for the senators to understand what we do as an intermediate. We actually have a follow-up meeting just to talk about special ed finance. And they want to dig more into what is an intermediate. But we had an amazing student speaker, and Madam Chair was connecting with our student over at North Education Center who wants to go into public speaking. And
I want her to go
her
to public speaking.
not only was her story profound, but she also wrote a poem that she'll be sharing with you tonight. But first, I'm going to introduce the principal, our leader at North Education Center, Principal Aslan. Come on up.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I just have to explain my Spider-Man t-shirt. It's homecoming week at NEC and today was superhero day. And tomorrow is our staff and student football game. So that's why. So I want to introduce Kia Floyd, who prefers cats. Kat is in our NECA program at North Education Center. She is our current or reigning student of the month. She's also an educator. She works at Primrose in their preschool program. Kat's care and patience for her kiddos is evident when she talks about them. She is going to graduate by December or before. And I've encouraged her to consider a career in education, possibly, hopefully with 287. So Kat wrote a poem with you and shared it with our senator visit earlier this month, and she will share that with you tonight. And I have a copy of it that I will hand out. So without further ado, Kat, you want to come on?
I just want to excuse the back. Don't look at it. Those are just my notes. Sorry. Do you want me to wait till everyone has the poem?
What would you prefer?
If everyone wants to see it, I would like to wait.
Yes, that sounds good.
I don't know what to say. I would like to say you guys all look very nice, very professional. So
Like I said, she has a future. in front of her.
thank you. I'm trying my best.
You're doing good.
Thank you. I do want to say that I wrote this poem in inspiration, more so of my life and what I've experienced, but also of people that I know as well who've experienced a lot of this and just research. And also on to have better knowledge on for someone who has mental issues or disorders, to just spread the word and let others know what actually goes through some heads. So I will start now. The poem is called Mental Health Awareness Poem. To the outsider, do not feed into the lies. Do not let your eyes and ears deceive you. You might not hear the cries. Your perception of me is only a glimpse of my truth. Become my neighbor and learn about this particular youth. Knock on my door before assuming, because behind this door, there is nothing amusing. To the parent, your presumption of your child relies only on visibility. So you see their laziness, their sulkiness, and their disobedience. But when you open their door, do you see them? Or do you only see what you want to see? Your child's door can both open and close, but sometimes the door can break. This door can and should stay open because this door cannot be fixed. To self, you may think you're ugly, that your hair isn't the best. You may think that you are a wreck when your brain just needs a rest. Although your door may be broken on the inside, you do need to realize what's really inside. Open your own door and take a look outside. To all, knock on doors before walking in with judgments and assumptions. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you can imagine just the reaction in the room. And especially striking was, I remember before we even started, Kat, you were sitting in your chair just finishing the poem before you even shared it. So I mean, this was happening, right? As like people are arriving, all of these strangers coming into your classroom and into your space, and that you felt comfortable sharing this with us, I think was such a gift. And so I'm especially grateful that you were willing to share it again tonight with another group of people who you don't know, but you're here and we appreciate it. Would you be willing to answer questions if people have some things that they'd like to ask? Yeah. Okay, of course. Are there things that people would like to share or ask of our special guest Kat? Michael, go ahead.
Thank you so much for being here and for sharing this. As you were reading it and as I was reading along, the parent section really grabbed my attention. As a parent of a student in special services, you speak quite the truth from a parent's perspective, sometimes not a very proud parent perspective, but an honest one. So I thank you for that. And then second, do I have your permission if I would like to read this at the Edina School Board meeting that happens next week? Would I be okay to, I mean, I will obviously reference you and speak who it's from, but I think this is such a wonderful, wonderful narrative of the reality of what's there. And so I thank you for sharing that and kind of opening our door
Thank you.
from that standpoint. So thank you.
Thank you. I will say it needs some edits because I read it and it wasn't the right words that I was reading, but that's what it's meant to say is what I said. I can have someone send you the updated, edited, better version.
Whatever version you find acceptable,
Okay.
that's what I would use.
Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
To all of us.
To everybody. We'll make sure they get to everybody. I'm seeing lots of requests.
Of
for it.
course.
Okay,
I
Dan,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
ask the same thing about, I love poetry and I love quotations and I'm like a pre-reader, right? So I saw this line before you even said it. And then when you said it, it like hit me again. Knock on doors before walking in with judgments and assumptions.
It's a metaphor of saying just because you think your child is always in their room and never wants to do anything, or they're so annoying, they're so bad, they never do anything right, just because you have your assumptions and you feel like, my mom always says, like, I know you like the back of my hand, like I gave birth to you. So, but it's like in my head, I don't know what to tell anyone. I don't know what's going on. So it's really just a metaphor of like, you see what's going on physically, but mentally there's so much behind that door. So
I love it. I love it. So it's okay if we quote you?
of course, please.
Any other questions or comments? Michelle.
Hi, thank you so much for reading us a poem that you meant to read. And I'm looking forward to many more. In fact, I was just sitting here thinking, I can just visualize 2026, right? Yeah, you know where I'm going with this, right? Where you're at the capital of the United States receiving the best poetry poet, best poet.
Thank you.
So I really, that vision just came to me.
Thank you.
And the people were whatever you would like them to be.
I do. I actually do poetry on my own. I have many more. I actually wrote one last night because I was nervous about this today. So, but yeah, I mean, if my work gets anywhere, I hope so. But thank you. That is such a great compliment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah.
I'll just say thank you for coming and sharing it. I'm going to do a different, I think you should be public speaking and advocating and teaching, but I also want to say thanks for working with our littlest ones. And it warms my heart and fills my bucket to know that you are modeling and helping for all of our young learners whose brains are developing and they're in your hands. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I know a lot of people are like, I can't handle them. I'm like, I can't, so I got you.
All right. Well, one of the things that we talked about and that you specifically shared with the senators was the importance of transportation for our ALC students. And I know that we have transportation, so I want to make sure that you get to it in time, that you get to go relax after a long day.
Thank you.
So we're going to let you go. I'm going to transition to the next topic and then say goodbye to you out in the hallway. So we are going to, first of all, one more. Thank you, Kat. And thank you, Principal Dwyer, for for being here as well. And then for our instructional report this evening, Dr. Tanya Allen is going to talk with us about social and emotional learning.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board, Superintendent Dowd. I am going to talk to you about social emotional learning, but I believe we learn best by doing. So we're going to kind of be non-traditional tonight because I knew it would be hard to follow Kat. And so I thought, why don't we, we talk a lot about some of the things that we do, but you probably don't know what that actually looks like or feels like or sounds like. So, okay, this clicker works. Maybe not. Oh, thought it was me. It's okay. So earlier this year in April, some of you were on the board, some of you are new. But earlier this year, we talked about the impact of the different finances that we've received to support so many different things with the American Rescue Plan funding that we received. And so through that grant, we did a lot of things and we talked a lot about two big things that we were doing and offering for staff. And I recognize that many of you may have heard of these program names, but you don't know what they are. And you don't know what the impact is not only for our staff, but how that trickles down to students. So I invited my colleague, Veronica Jacobson, who is a teacher over at Ann Bremmer Education Center, who has been part of both of these opportunities, to be with me today to really kind of walk us through and talk about what these programs look like, sound like, feel like. And as you can see behind you, there are drums. Because I didn't want this to be this, you listen to us lecture kind of thing, but rather you get to experience what this looks like, sounds like, feels like. So I'm going to invite Veronica up to talk about that. And then we are going to actually do a couple activities.
Thank you, Tanya, for letting me come and share. These were very awesome opportunities to kind of extend that therapeutic approach or things that we can bring in and work with our students in a variety of ways. So like she said, we're going to do a little bit here. Just rhythm to recovery, like kind of the basis of it is really using the therapeutic healing of the drums. Our Indigenous ancestors have used this for years and years and years for both communication, spiritual healing, and that sort of thing. And so we honor that in being able to use these here. But it's not just about playing the drums. It's also about having the rich discussions that have and come from the very specifically planned prompts. Some of the things that Rhythm to Recovery can help with are regulation and mood, creating social connections and relationships, and kind of physical confidence. Some people are like, oh, I don't know how to drum. I'm not gonna, I don't want to play the wrong note, right? And really on a drum, you can't. It's one pitch. It's great. But it also provides kind of a grounding experience. And it can reduce anxiety and emotional distress. So with that, again, I could talk and talk and talk, but I'm gonna show you before I do that. These drums, if you end up grabbing one, you just kind of put it between your legs. Okay? I'll do that one. So everybody choose a drum. Everybody choose a drum. Bring it back to your seat. And bring it back to your seat. Try it out and make a sound. Try it out and make a sound. Four, three, two, one, and stop. even that, like in a group, something like that, everybody just stopping at the same time is an achievement. You know, when we sit in class or have students, you know, time to start, you know, you have little extra conversations. So one of the first activities that we're gonna do is called rumbles, not grumble, not grumble, but rumbles. Here's how you rumble. Ready? There's nothing scientific about it. Try it. Get really loud. Four, three, two, one, and stop. Move yourselves around. So when you rumble, you start out with a group. A lot of the time, there's a lot of apprehension. I don't know. I saw y'all's faces when I said everybody grab a drum. You're like, she wants us to do what? So the idea of the rumbles, some people don't want to talk. Some people don't want to interact with other people. Guess what? If I take out the language piece, we can still communicate. So you all know what a rumble is. Rumble if your favorite season is fall. Rumble if you're a member of 2 school boards. Rumble if you've ever made a mistake. Rumble if you have ever experienced what? Rumble if, here you go. You have more than 2 pets. So notice, I learned that, dude, all of us have made mistakes and all of us have been part of conflict, right? But I don't know what they were. But all of us played and all of us, did you feel a sense of like, hey, I'm not by myself? You know? And how did it feel when it was just you with the 2 pets?
Like an admission of something.
All right. It's not bad having 2 pets, right? How many of you, some of you liked fall, some of you don't. Okay, it's just information, right? So this is really a good way to kind of start your group, kind of break the ice. Sometimes you let participants say like, I don't know, Crystal, why don't you rumble if, and then come up with something.
No, I'm not. Rumble if you don't do well under pressure.
And then you could ask, is there a volunteer? Does somebody else want to do a rumble? Okay, rumble if everybody's really shy right now. All right. So with the rumbles, everybody, like, there wasn't anybody who was like, I, don't know, you know, you're engaged. It's something, there's a third kind of point that you're referring to. There's a safety with the drum in front of you. You don't have to be vulnerable. I'm not asking you your deep, darkest stories, right? We all kind of felt connected. We all felt the tension at first, but we also had a little bit of fun. And you didn't have to say a word. All right. So this next part, it's not as easy. Okay. So on the drum, we have a couple of different sounds. I'm going to teach you 2. The first one here, right in the middle, you're going to use probably the palm of your hand. It'll make contact. Your other fingers might make contact too, but that's the bulk of it. And it's almost like a yo-yo or like a hot pan, like don't touch the frying pan. So why don't you try that? Show me your bass. We're all in sync. How powerful is that? 4, 3, 2, 1. So the analogy is in Rhythm to Recovery, the drumming, that bass tone is your heartbeat. It's your home base, right? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split the group in two. All right, from Marcy over your group one, from Crystal over your group two. What I'm gonna do, group one, I promise it's not scary yet. You're going to repeat after me. It's an 8-count beat. Oh, I forgot to tell you. So the other tone that you're going to use is the one here on the side. It's called the open tone. Four, three, two, one, and stop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put those together. If you are wearing rings, you might want to remove them. Your hands, I just remembered as I was filling my own, they can scratch the drums, but your hands can swell from just contact. So group one, here's your rhythm. I want you to listen first. Four, three, two, and one, and okay, so that's yours. So try to keep that in your head, okay? Group two, you ready? Four, three, two, one, and stop. All right. Got those in there? I'm gonna talk a little bit more. Hold them in there. While we're playing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put those together now. I know that you can do it. But you might get lost in the middle because it's relatively new, right? Anybody else got lost before?
What?
If you get lost, just come back to your home beat. And if you stay here for the rest of the time, that's fine. If you're able to find your way back to your beat, that's cool too. But you always have that home beat to go to. Okay. All right, so group one. You ready? Keep it going. Group two, ready? Going. Four, three, two, one, and did anybody get lost? A little bit, a little bit. Was a little bit, maybe a little unsettling. Was there something that you used to make yourself feel or get yourself back on track? Anybody can.
I wrote a little cheat sheet.
Okay, resourcefulness, all right.
You wrote it down.
I'm left-handed, so I found myself going from one to the other with no particular order, so there you go.
There you go. All right. When you were starting, I saw Marcy, you were like, yeah, I kind of lost a little. What was it that you did? Did you watch something or hear something that was like, okay, wait, that's where I'm at, kind of recentered yourself?
I put it in, I live in numbers,
Okay,
so I put it in numerical, and then I got back.
okay. So there's lots of tools that we have when we are starting to lose our way, right? We've got that home base. We had this half of the group was together. Now imagine if I would have been like, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Once play this, 2 play this. Easier or harder? Harder, right? So it's a matter of finding your resources. The one question that kind of we would talk about that is like, what did you use? But the other question is, when you don't have a frame of reference, what do you do? Where do you go? And that would be kind of the stop discussion kind of thing, and then we go back into an activity. And so we'd also talk about like in your lives, what does that element of that home base, what is that for you? Is it family? Is it specifically a grandparent? Is it work? Kind of a thing. And that's kind of that interaction kind of drumming. But most of you were probably more apprehensive or less apprehensive at the end than at the beginning, right? Why? What do you think made the difference?
We were scared at first.
Scared at first. New things can be scary, right? But you didn't have to do it by yourself, right? We were all here together. End scene. So, part of that would just be kind of then going back and talking about like, why are we doing this? Like, what does this mean? What were the things that were going through your head and just kind of that thing? But yes. So do you want me to go on the other one or ask questions first? Okay.
I know we're over for time and I know we have a board retreat, so I'm going to be mindful of time. So the mindful piece, the only thing I'll mention is just move mindfully is really thinking about breath, movement, and rest. And so when you think about how you go about your day, and we all have those days, as we get ready to transition, I would just encourage you, there's lots of different breathing exercises that you can do to integrate within your day. But one is just a simple, as you raise your arms and do that type of a breath. And then when you get up to the top, then let it all out. Or you can do box breathing if you've never done box breathing, just some different types of things. So Move Mindfully taught a lot of different things. Maybe in the future, we'll come back and talk about it more. But I just wanted to give you more of a actual experience of what does this really look like with students, so that you don't just hear me talk about boring stuff, but you can actually hear from the people that are practicing and doing the work that we've done. So if there's questions, we'll have questions. If not, I'm going to turn it back over to Crystal.
Thank you. It's never boring when you're sharing with us, but it was especially wonderful to have you with us. Veronica, thank you for spending part of your Thursday night with us and leading us through this. Michael, go ahead.
So I've had the privilege, as many of my colleagues have, when we've done Get on the Bus. We ended quite a few of our sessions with a drum circle at the end. So I've experienced it from that standpoint, but actually using it in a classroom outside of the drum circle process, is that something that's being done in most classrooms, or is it only in certain classrooms that you're doing that? I mean, can you explain a little bit more about outside the drum circle process, where is it being incorporated?
Sure. I would say right now, based on the numbers that have been trained, like Veronica has been trained, we don't have the critical mass of doing this as much as we would want to. It does take, it wasn't just the 2-day training, but it's the practice. And Veronica also has a background in music therapy. So she has more in her toolbox, I would say, than everyone else. Not to say we don't have great practitioners, but it's a process. So it really is taking and learning and applying and then growing from there. But it's not something that I can say is universally through every classroom, no, because it would take.
And I wouldn't expect it to be. I just was curious as to how far. Yes, Veronica, you're gonna say something.
Go ahead.
It is also, so like, at Ann Brummer, we have, tier 2 and tier 3, like the high school, and I use it in all of the settings. Just because we did the verbal kind of conversations doesn't mean it can't be used with students who are nonverbal. It's really about organizing the brain. Can I, use my eyes and watch? Can I communicate? And some of the kids, love just like, okay, we're gonna watch so-and-so, and when they stop, we're gonna stop, or having choices of rumble if, and then you give a choice, and then they're participating that way. So it's not limited to that, but like she said, it is a process kind of a thing, because it's not just, let's go play some drones, it's really being purposeful about like, okay, like maybe in the school culture, like something that's going on right now, this is a thing that we can do. So it's really like, we're looking at setting up like an 8-week kind of a thing with specific students to start with, saying, can they be successful together? And then Rhythm to Recovery doesn't have like evidence-based kind of like surveys or whatever, but they do have like, how do you feel at the beginning? How do you feel at the end? And you can track other things to say, is there an impact, like a secondary impact into other places? But it's also a great place to have them come. And again, your defenses are down when you're beating on the drum. I've had kids, we were doing it the other day, and one of the kids, he came in and I was like, oh, you need to beat on that drum. Beat it as hard as you can. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, here. He was, man, that felt better. So we did rumbles, like it just stuff like that, and it just breaks the ice. And then we talked about what was really irking him off, and it opens that door for kids to be like, this isn't so scary. Like I can share with you and be vulnerable, even with my peers, and not feel that I'm going to be judged.
Thank you.
Do you have where staff can participate in the training or how to do this?
Yeah, what I did, we offered the training because it's an intense 2-day training for the part that Veronica went through. So we offered it all to staff, but it is a commitment. It's not one of those trainings that you pop in, pop out. It's a concentrated focus amount of time. So it's been offered twice in the last 2 years to staff to go and be a part of the training. So it is a 2-day commitment minimum. So that's the hard part. But we've had a good amount of staff attend.
Good.
Out of the 2 opportunities.
And I did, because of my background as music therapy, like I have brought it in there in the mornings and the staff, like it's not like structured too much. It's more like, let's just call in and like, let's have a good time. Let's be part of and build that community. And people who come, they're like, oh, can we do that every day? Like they just feel really rejuvenated and connected after they leave. So there is the potential to be using it as staff circles for staff
Good.
wellness.
May I ask one follow-up question? It's actually to Superintendent Dowd.
Yes.
Would you see this as something that could work effectively if you brought it into the cabinet, if you brought it into the district office and so on and so forth? I'm just thinking, rather than 2 full-day training, but what Veronica just did with us as an introduction, and then figuring out how to this, because I'd be happy to have this every meeting. But again, I'm someone who loves to tap on stuff. So, but I'm just saying, like, the point about kind of making the connection with people, I thought in a simple way, that's really powerful. Regardless of whether we're all working on the same thing in the right direction or we're all kind of all over the place, that kind of singular kind of thing, I think can be pretty, and just like the drum circle at the end, when we're kind of coming to peace with stuff and whatever it is, that's a nice way to close. But I'm just saying that might be something that in both the district office and in your administration, if you haven't thought about using that just in this setting alone for 15 minutes, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty powerful. And Dr. Allen talked a little bit about Move Mindfully, but this is something that we did with the whole instructional and operational team. We went through a training, and in our cabinet, when we take our breaks, because we often enter into courageous and brave conversations, we practice whoever is the facilitator or the timekeeper that day enters into the cabinet leading a mindful movement or move mindfully for a moment, and then we enter into a break. And so we are trying to model anything that we are asking our teachers or staff to use, that we do it within our team too.
Great. The only other thing I would say, just as I was thinking about, I was looking around the room, right? you also have counterparts in every single one of our districts. And even though you might do virtual meetings, if you ever are in actual together meetings, both for directors of support services as well as
Yes, and the
superintendents.
superintendent.
I know, it'd be interesting to see how they would
Finance
respond to it,
too.
but I'm just saying, what a leadership opportunity for 287 to challenge all the people that we represent also here.
I will make sure that the superintendents know that it came from Edina. And I'd be more than happy to do it.
I would say to them, if they can humble themselves.
They can. They're wonderful. Thank you for that.
Renee, go ahead.
Yeah, my sense about it immediately, to piggyback on what you had said, is that this would be a great board activity for my board at this point, because I think one of the things that I really found was it sort of minimized the distraction of all of us. It brought us to a kind of a central here and now. It seemed to drop the baggage we carry into a room at the end of a day, that kind of a thing. It seemed to collectively make this room feel more mindful and just being here. So, like, what are you guys doing on Monday evening?
Available for consultation.
Veronica, are you willing to moonlight?
All the board members that might be
I
interested.
understand. Retreats and everything coming up right now because of the things we face in my district. And I couldn't think of any more wonderful of a way to sort of start these courageous and brave conversations and from a place of mindfulness and peacefulness. So
Might even work in
serious.
negotiations.
Monday.
Oh,
Monday.
Hey, actually, in our negotiations, every started meeting, we actually do a 10, 15-minute trying to like do stuff like this to make that happen. So it is funny, but at the same time, it's, I think to
Meaningful.
Renee's point, it's very powerful.
I have
Yeah.
one more question.
and Sarah actually also has a thing
Oh.
to do. Go ahead.
And that would just be, could you point me in the direction of maybe a resource or a YouTube video or something that's out there that would be quick, that, you know,
Yes, we'll get that information. We'll share it with all of the board
Great.
members. And if,
That would
if
be
there is something you'd like to do within your district, just reach out to myself or Krista and we'll make a plan.
okay.
Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. Tell me, how transferable is it? And so for like for our kiddos that don't have a drum at home, right, like, or whatever, is there a little bit of that hitting and like the being able to find a center or find a pillow or do other things that it can be coping skills beyond when you have the cool device?
It's called ball percussion,
Okay.
and we teach the kids with different things like where they're trying to. We talk about like, when you're not in music class and you have a drum and you still, have some fidgety or whatever, we use body percussion. So we talk about, you can join in. So we tap our legs. And we clasp our hands. We stomp our feet. We can snap our fingers. And you can do anything you want. I mean, the kids will add like, oh yeah, like that really, just any of that, like music is like, when you dance, you have rhythm. So using any part of your body or any kind of pencil, whatever. And the benefit of this is you've got that vestibular input as well.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for what people shared and the ways that this felt really useful. I really appreciate that we got to experience it. I think to your point, us actually having just a tiny bit of doing ourselves what our staff and our students are doing is a really meaningful thing for us as a board. So thank you so much. All right, with that, we'll move on to board business. I have just a few things that I'm going to share before we adjourn. We'll take a really brief pause and then we'll start our retreat after that. Just a couple of things to highlight in the AMSD report, since we've been, I think, really focused on student brilliance tonight. There was a great student panel at our AMSD meeting just this past Friday morning, where 4 students really talked about their perspectives on education and what they're experiencing in their schools and their thoughts about the future of school. And so if that sounds at all interesting or exciting to you, I highly recommend checking out the recording, which is available through AMSD. And it would probably be the first half an hour, 40 minutes or so of the meeting. As far as calendars go, a couple of things that I would point, we've got the first Get on the Bus and Local 2209 meetings of the year. So Tuesday morning is the Get on the Bus to Ann Brummer. The bus will leave here at 8:30 a.m. So please make sure you're here before 8:30. There's always drinks out. We have a little bit of time to visit before we get on the bus, get some information, and then we'll arrive at Ann Brummer for our time there. And then our first lunch with our Local 2209, which is our joint teachers and ESP union, is on October 24th at 1 p.m. here in the District Service Center in room 316. So it's, you know, a great opportunity for us to share a meal and to talk about the things that are on people's minds. And for both of those, please make sure you let Juanine know if you plan to attend or if you plan to bring a guest to the Get on the Bus in particular. And then the last thing on all of our agendas is Once Around the Table. And Mike, I know this is your first meeting, so I'll share, this is just our time to share information with one another about things that maybe are happening in our home districts, things that we think might be of interest. So I will pause to see if there's anything that anyone would like to share this evening for Once Around the Table. I will share one thing. And again, it's just been such a great day with students because I got to spend 5 class periods at Richfield High School today, where we have a tradition every fall. Our seniors, every senior in the building in their American government or whatever their sort of political science class is in the fall, does a research project and they present on an issue that they think we could be doing differently or better in Richfield Public Schools. And they present to the school board or the superintendent or assistant superintendent who comes to their class. And so I had 5 class periods worth of presentations today that were just remarkable as far as the things that our kids know, see, feel, and experience, and to be able to tell them how seriously we take it and that we're going to talk about the themes and board meetings and then come back to them and say, here's what we're going to do about what you shared with us is really powerful. And so it's always one of my favorite days of the year. So it was wonderful to go from that today to this board meeting, knowing that I get the chance to see Kat again and that you all would get the chance to meet her as